I worked at a casino as a dealer through college. A lot of incidents were pretty sad, especially with regulars that you liked. One regular would tell me about his middle school age kids, and then I would realize the next week or so later that he was missing their school plays, recitals, etc. because he was at the tables. I remember working it overnight one Christmas Eve and begging him to go home when 6, 7 a.m. rolled around because his kids would be up and opening presents. Other times, just people screaming at you for stealing their mortgage payments from them that month, then seeing them back again the next day. I wasn't a casino employee, but I was an EMT in a certain beach town on the East Coast that could be described as bargain bin Vegas. On a given shift, we would probably field 3 or 4 casino calls, or in the summer. It was pretty soul-crushing. Most calls were alcohol-related or obvious slip-and-fall scams, but occasionally we would happen upon some real tragedies. Self-offing attempts, ODs, Rs. Assaults happen with depressing frequency. This one sticks with me the most, though. One day we had a call for a woman in her 70s sitting at the slots experiencing chest pain around 2 a.m. She refused treatment despite being in bad shape. We pleaded and begged and even had the on-call cardiologist talk to her on the phone, but she was on a streak and wouldn't hear it. An hour later, we were back doing CPR. She died right there in front of the same slot machine with a receipt for $7 in winnings. Super fucked. The amount of employees we had to treat for exhaustion or diabetic-related emergencies due to them not having enough breaks to manage their blood sugars was also super effed. Screw that town. I was security at a casino for a few years. Saddest story for me was this older gentleman, let's call him Tom, for privacy's sake. Tom would frequent the casino every day, spending anywhere from $200, $300. I had striked up lots of conversations with him because he was a regular and he was genuinely kind person who I enjoyed seeing. One day Tom comes in and I can tell he is upset. I don't make anything of it, but after seeing the guy for a few years almost every day, that day he looked really off. So a couple hours go by and I track him down and ask, how's the day going? Any big wins? Just general chit chat. He starts sobbing, tears running down his face. His wife had passed away from sudden cardiac death, is what I believe he called it, the night before, and he was devastated. We talked for quite a while. I tried comforting him while he played the machines. I had noticed he was betting extremely large, $200 to $300 per spin on the slot machine. I knew that was a lot for him, but I didn't say anything because it's not my business and I was sure it's a coping mechanism for him at the moment, doing something he loved when he just lost the love of his life. Hours later, I see him heading out the door. I run up to him, catch him, and wish him all the best, and that I see him soon. He smiled, said thanks for the chat and thank you for the condolences, and left. He booked a room in our hotel and killed himself that night. A little while later, I find out through some other staff, who were sort of friends of his family, that he had spent all of his money every dime that evening spending high limit on the machines, and assuming because he wanted a little enjoyment before he took his life. Still makes me upset I didn't invite him or over or do anything else because I knew he was in pain. I have 2, bear with me, third day dealing, fresh out of dealer school. I've been in industry 10 years now. But anyways, I get put on a game called Pay Gao Tiles. Very difficult game to learn and I loved it. It is difficult for Americans because we are so used to poker rules. In this game, a pair of 4s beats a pair of 10s. Why? Fuck you, that's why. Anyways, third day dealing on a 25-min game. Guy is betting 50 to 150 consistently for 3 hours. He builds it up to about 3K, started with about $500. He slides it all on one hand. We wish him good luck. He sets his hand, excited showing the table his monster hand. I, the dealer, pull what's called Jigu, Tinbo. It is literally unbeatable. It is the god hand. It is pair of aces, pair of kings. His hand was equal to pair of queens, pair of jacks. For you dealers, he had Daybor Gore, a 99.9% winner in every other instance. He slams the table, chips fly everywhere, and he begins to self-induce vomit. He succeeds, splatters everywhere.
Security is on him within seconds. Banned for life, while pit closes due to biohazard. You did not leave a tip. Second story dealing about 9 years now. In dealing Pay Gao poker, not tiles like above. Full table. This game involves a lot of pushes, which is why I enjoy playing. $200 bucks at 10.20 a hand can have you playing for 2 hours no problem due to so many pushes. The reason to play this game is the bonus bet. Catching 4 of a kind straight flushes, royal flushes, pay huge. Even if you lose the hand and have a bonus, the bonus pays. Now the twist is if you bet 5 tires or more, you get envy bonus, which means if anyone else at the table hits a monster bonus, you get paid some dollar too. Joker is a wild card used to make straights, flushes, or act as a 5th ace. He shows the table, everyone cheers and is excited because their $5 bet wins them each $5,000. If the man had played it, his bonus would have paid 8,000 to 1. $5 nets him 40K, but he didn't play it. So he shows the table, look, I didn't play the bonus. I am going to win nothing while you all win $5,000 each through any. Will each of you throw me $1,000 each so you all walk away with $4,000 each? They start etc. He kind of frowns and lets out a small sigh, mucks the hand to the dealer. The table loses it talk? No. I, the dealer, inside am like, fuck yeah, bro. Screw those greedy assholes. They all get 5K off your hand while you win nothing? They call managers over demanding they be paid because he had the bonus hand.
But until it is legally set by the player and the dealer reveals it to the camera, the patron may fold their hand freely and forfeit their bet. He walked away shouting back, hey, we all could have had $4,000 each, but you wanted to be greedy. It was fantastic. So I guess it's sad for those greedy people. I used to be a casino receptionist in Bucharest. One day, this massive guy, almost 7 feet tall with a beer gut to match, decided to kick off at 8 a.m. in the morning. I should have known he was trouble when he came in. He had this really intense look on his face. When he signed into our computer, I noticed a yellow mark next to his name. Yellow ticks mean one of two things. You're either a high roller or an aggressive cheater. He could have been either. He was allowed to play, but only on the condition that I notified the security staff. The chap had barely sat down before he started throwing massive sums of money around. He was placing heavy bets all over the table. After a few consecutive losses, his mood turned, and he threatened to throw a metal ashtray at the dealer. Having been asked to calm down, he was switched to another table, where he tried the same tactic of ridiculous spread betting across the numbers. He stayed there for a while, won some money, and began to relax. When the dealer changed, so did his luck. Before long, he'd lost all his winnings, which didn't go down well. Right as I entered the room, I saw a security guard holding the staff door open while my manager was yelling at the dealer to run for his life. I've never seen anyone move that fast, and I don't think the dealer looked back until he reached the kitchens. Everyone else in the room followed, just as frightened. It turns out this guy was so pissed at losing that he managed to remove the top of the roulette table, which is incredibly heavy, and subsequently threatened to murder everyone in the room. Security bolted in and managed to drag the guy out. Somehow he got back in and started begging me to let him play again and promised that he wouldn't kick off. He assured me that he wasn't a bad person, he just can't think straight when he's on a losing streak. Fair enough. For years, I've worked with surveillance for cruise ship casinos. One morning at about 6 a.m., the casino I was working in was empty except for one American woman playing the slots. This woman was cleaning up. She'd already won a few $1,000s. At some point, she realized she needed the bathroom, but was convinced someone would steal her winnings if she left. Some players are a bit paranoid. That's just the way it is, even though they know that myself and my colleagues are monitoring the TV screens. So instead of just going to the toilet or even calling the attendant, she went behind the slots, pulled her trousers down, and laid one out right there. After, she sauntered back to the slots relieved, 2 meters away from her own shit, and continued playing as if nothing had happened. When a slot attendant came by to see how things were going, he smelled something dreadful. He clocked it pretty quickly and asked her what had happened. With a completely straight face, she feigned innocence and claimed she vaguely remembered that there was someone walking around back there. Anyway, we got the whole thing on CCTV. When I wrote my report, it took all of my strength to remain professional and not just scribble down she took a massive crap behind the slots. When the news came out, security went into her room to ask about the incident. Upon hearing what had happened, her partner requested to be moved to another room immediately. Presumably, that was the end of their holiday. I lived in Las Vegas for 20 years, much of which was spent as a compulsive gambler, some of which was spent working for a company that manufactured and serviced card shuffling machines. Anyway, 2 stories, one I heard, one I witnessed. In a craps game at Stardust, many years ago, an older player leaned across the layout to place a bet. His false teeth fell out of his mouth and landed on the felt. Without missing a beat, the veteran stickman removed his own set of teeth, tossed them out onto the table, and said, "We'll fade that action." The one I watched happened at the Hard Rock early one morning midweek in a mostly empty casino. I was playing blackjack at a table with a few other people. We had a roulette table next to us. It was at card shuffling machines. It had one of the signs that lights up and records the last X number of spins. One guy says to his buddy, "Hey, put some money on 9. The other guy says, "Not 9. 36. 4 nines is 36. So the player on first base, with his pile of chips in front of his chair on the blackjack table, stands up and places a bet on 36. Before the dealer could spin, however, the pit boss intervened and told the hopeful bettor that he could only play at one table at a time. In other words, he'd have to give up his spot at the blackjack table, grumbling all the while. The roulette wheel spun and landed on 36, because how could it have landed on anything else? I can't prove it. The witnesses have scattered who knows where, but I watched it go down circa 1997, Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas.